there are quite a lot of things in common in terms of historic experiences and also in terms of the need to deconstruct some kind of historical political mythology which is of a tremendous political importance even now. Because I think if we are looking now at political debates in these two countries, in Russia and Poland, what is common is that history is very often used as an argument or even as a kind of justification for political action, for taking political positions, as an explanation of political decisions. And in that sense, history is politics and politics is history. In that sense, I think history is extremely politicized in Russia, and politics, we can say, is extremely historianized, if you want to put it this way. And I think, as far as I understand Polish situation, there is a similarity. I don't think that history, for example, plays any kind of similar role in most of other European countries. I do not imagine politicians, say in Britain or in France, justifying doing something with some political decisions which are made now with references to what happened, say, 70, 80 years ago, 50 years ago, or even 300 or 400 years ago. Russian historiography, since 1920s, somehow completely ignored or showed complete lack of interest, ironically, in Marxist analysis. This is very interesting because the country was officially called Marxist-Leninist. After 1930s, the situation changed in such a way that Russian history telling was mainly quite traditionalist, and it was just decorated with quotations from Marx, Lenin, later Stalin. Then they stripped off from the books, from this building of history, they stripped off the quotations of Stalin, remaining only the quotations of Lenin and Marx, probably adding some new quotations from the current Congress of the Communist Party. Then, why it was so easy for Russian historians to move towards this post-communist era without changing anything in their discourse or interpretation, because their interpretation was totally un-Marxist and in many ways anti-Marxist before that, even in the Soviet period. So they just dropped the quotation, they just stripped off all these decorations, and the building remained exactly as it used to be, without much difference. There is a contradiction which goes through most of Russian history, and the contradiction is between the kind of colonial development which was characteristic for Russian economy and society, and the presence of Russia as a major European empire in global politics. So in that sense, Russia was, on the one hand, a colonial country. On the other hand, it was one of the major European empires, which was also one of the major elements, one of the pillars of the European world system, of the European political system. In that sense, it was also a colonizing empire. And again, if Russia was a colonized society, who were the colonizers? The tremendous difference, which changes everything, was that unlike other colonized countries, Russia was never colonized by foreigners. It was colonized by its own ruling class, which functioned as a colonial power towards its own population, towards its own peasantry and the great majority of its population. Speaking about Soviet elites, whether they were Russians or Ukrainians or Kazakh elites, I think by the late 1980s, they were quite ready to lead their move towards capitalism. But of course, it is a very interesting contradiction that the they were very much the ones who led the country, the Soviet Union, into this crisis. But they were the very same bureaucracy, this very same nomenclatura. They were the ones who benefited from the crisis through establishing themselves and turning themselves into the new bourgeoisie. But that's pretty logical because they were also the ones to remain the only subjects, the only conscious force in the process. Because all other social forces, they did not possess the subjectivity. They did not possess the capacity to form a project, to structure a political process according to their own interests. And the interests of all other layers of society were unclear, unarticulated, and very often not really formed objectively. Now the situation is different. And that's why I'm sure that now with this current crisis of capitalism, we're not going to fall into the same trap. But this is exactly a tremendous struggle for subjectivity, to form new historic subjects, not among the elites, but among the people, among the society, and again in a bottom-up way. And there is no guarantee, there is no proof that we are going to succeed, but that's what we have to do because that's what the left is about, that's what it is for. If the left is not doing that, then forget about the left.
You make a point in two places that recent times look like the time exactly before the Soviet Revolution, like the free press, somehow modernizing government after the crisis with a kind of a reviving economy still based on the energetic or giving resources to the center or selling resources to the center. So like Stolypin and can't beat the times. Should we expect another Russian Revolution? 24.
I think we should. I think the kind of situation we have now is unbearable in the long run, because there is a contradiction between the kind of economy and kind of society we've got. The economy, just give you one example, that if you look at Russia from the point of view of, say, its role in the international trade, or even if you take the salaries outside of, we're speaking not about Moscow, but the rest of the country. Russia suddenly becomes a country playing in the same league as Algeria or Nigeria. Probably doing better than Nigeria or Algeria, but playing in the same league. But if you're looking at Russia from the point of view of, say, social development, the level of education, the level of housing, social needs, which became natural for the great majority of people, and so on, then you discover that it's definitely in the same league with Western European countries. So in that sense, there is a contradiction between economy and society, and it's very interesting that the state tries to crash the society to make it adjust to the kind of economy it has. So it is a conscious effort by the state, ironically, to demodernize the society. They speak a lot about modernizing the economy, but the way they're trying to modernize the economy, or what they consider to be economic modernization, in fact, is a tremendous effort to demodernize the society. The society has to get rid of specific structures, including political structures, just to continue developing, to survive as a society. I think this is very simple. And that's why I think objectively there is a need for a new Russian revolution. Whether it's going to happen or not, well, again, follow the news.